I grew up in California and lived in Hawaii, and I still can't surf. However, I recently moved to one of the most famous countries for surfing with arguably some of the best waves in the world, Australia. You're my last hope. For the next 5 days, I'll be eating, sleeping, and breathing surfing with Australia's famous Rip Curl Surf Camp just outside of Sydney. I'm gonna be staying steps away from the beach, living with all the instructors, living with 90 other surf students, and literally just surfing for 5 days straight, and I can't wait. Day 1, I arrived at surf camp, and when I say this place is chill, I mean this place literally screams the minimalist beach bum lifestyle. I moved into a pretty small room with 6 others, and the beds didn't even have ladders. We all shared one set of mixed bathrooms, and don't even get me started about the Wi-Fi. We were basically service-free for the entire week. But to be honest, none of that really bothered me. I walked in and was instantly overtaken by all the good vibes, the beachy music, and smiles all around me. Everyone seemed so genuinely excited to be there. We got an introduction and found out that our schedule is as follows. We get 2 lessons a day, and we eat, sleep, breathe, surf for the next 5 days. I'm excited. It's gonna be a lot. We're going out for our first surf lesson in 10 minutes, so fingers crossed. I hope it goes well. Our instructors were great. They walked us through step by step how to spot a wave, when to paddle out, how to stand on the board, and everything else we need to know. And apparently, the few times that I had attempted to surf in the past were entirely wrong. My hand placement, the way I stood, all of my technique, it was all wrong. So basically, I needed to forget everything that I ever thought I knew about surfing and start from square one. Basically, negative square one. With my new corrections in mind, it was a lot harder than I expected it to be. I got tumbled so many times, and the water kept going in my nose and in my ears, and my brain rattled around every time I did a nosedive. And I kept doing things wrong. It was hard to remember everything they had taught us. But when I was finally able to stand up on my first wave, it felt amazing. The beach was beautiful and the waves were perfect, so regardless of how many times I stood up, I couldn't really complain. I know I had a lot more to learn, but I was excited to give it another go again tomorrow. Tomorrow came around and I was eager to jump into the waves. We learned about how external factors affect our ability to surf through some diagrams in the sand. I found out that the direction and strength of the wind has a huge effect on the waves. Waves often come in sets, which we have to be mindful of, and even the tide affects the way the waves break. I never knew to think that there is so much that went into surfing. Today I practiced more of what we learned yesterday, the right technique of standing up on the board. One thing I struggled with was remembering to put my hands directly underneath my chest because I naturally wanted to grip the edges of the board, making it more unstable and more susceptible for me to nosedive. I knew I was improving, but it was taking some time to get the hang of. I took quite a few tumbles and nosedives, but every now and then I would catch a good wave and I would get motivated again. I was making progress, it was just slow progress. One way that I was able to practice the techniques outside of the ocean was on a balance board and a skateboard, neither of which I've had much experience from back at home, but it was helpful because the foot placement and the balancing mimic aspects of balancing on a surfboard. One of the best parts about this camp was the environment we got to go back to after a day of surfing. I have never been so de-stressed in my life. Being away from my phone and not having Wi-Fi or anything to worry about except surfing and having a good time forced me to slow down and really enjoy myself. After the daily surf lessons, we all ate together, played games, and walked to the beach for sunset. Each night was different, but equally enjoyable. Without our phones as distractions, we really got to know the people there and enjoy each other's company. It was refreshing. Day 3. I woke up and my arms and body ached. Today started off pretty crappy. I still had some lingering frustration from the day before and felt a bit unmotivated. I didn't get the best night's sleep, and it was actually cold for once. It did not make it easy to get out of bed. When we got to the beach, they taught us how to navigate currents and rips in the ocean. They also taught us how to turn the board right or left. I could still barely stand up, and they were already teaching us what felt like a pretty advanced skill. The waves were too small to basically even ride, and it was freezing. I also kept nosediving, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong, and I was getting so frustrated. Just kept getting tumbled by waves over and over and nosediving. So I finally asked for help and realized that not only did I need to work on my technique, but the timing of the waves was also tripping me up. Here, one of the instructors is showing me the right placement to turn my board and reminding me to bend my knees and look up when I stand. But the hard part is, even if I did all of that perfectly, I could still get my timing wrong and not even catch the wave at all. But after understanding what I was doing wrong, I caught my first, good wave. I think they call it green waves, the big ones from the back. And I think I got my first one with his help. Up until now, I'd only been able to catch the whitewash, which is the wave right after it crashes. The green waves are generally bigger, more challenging to catch, and you catch them before they've broken. And then after that, I had this little boost of confidence. And I was like, I can do this by myself. So after a few more nosedives, I finally was able to stand up on one of those big green waves by myself. And that's probably one of the best feelings I've had this week. And now I feel like I understand a lot more about how the waves work, how the surfboard works, and how I can move my weight to kind of control the direction of the surfboard. I turned a little bit to the side today to avoid someone while I was surfing. I was never able to do anything like that before. Today I feel like I went over the beginner's hump of the learning curve, so I think I'm gonna continue improving. I feel like I can surf a little bit now. On day 4, I woke up feeling great. I was excited to get to surfing. Yesterday ended on such a high, I was eager to use that momentum to continue improving. While I was waiting to go out to the water, I decided to practice more of my balancing and technique on the balance board and skateboard. And in the little time that I had practiced on that over the past few days, I felt like I had improved so much. I was really starting to get the hang of it. But, of course, all good things had to come to an end, and stupidly, I was barefoot doing all of this and ended up scraping my foot. But before you laugh at my clumsiness, when I say scrape, I mean the top of the skateboard acted a bit as a cheese grater for my cheddar jack big toe. I'm stupid, and I just took a layer of skin off of my toe, and it won't stop bleeding, and it hurts. And this was literally minutes before we went to surf. Clearly, I didn't need to be rushed to the ER, but it definitely wasn't a comfortable experience and wasn't easy to ignore. But I'm a tough cookie, so I taped it up and hoped for the best. When we got out into the water, the conditions were the worst they've been all week. The waves were coming in such fast sets, it was hard to catch any of them, and the wind was so powerful, making the waves even harder to catch. I felt like the more I paddled out towards the waves, the further I got from them, like I was on some treadmill in the middle of the ocean that just kept beating me up. The injury on my toe made it harder to focus, of course, especially now that the Band-Aid had come off and I could feel the open wound every time that a new wave came. But I just kept telling myself to push through, not to give up. I'm here for a reason, and that's to surf. But the next wave that came not only wiped me off my feet and made me nearly hit my head on the sand, but it broke the leash to my surfboard too. And at that point, I was just over it. As I embarrassingly dragged my surfboard out of the water, I was beyond frustrated. I just felt like I had regressed back to day 1. I felt stupid for taking a break as I watched the rest of my friends attempt to catch waves. This was not how I expected my second to last surf lesson to go. I'm so frustrated. I was catching waves yesterday, and today I just can't seem to catch them. And a bunch of other people are catching waves, and it's so frustrating. And my toe really hurts. And then my leash broke to my surfboard, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. So I walked up to shore with the surfboard because it's freaking broken. So I don't know. I need to get a new surfboard, or I'm walking around to see if there's other surfboards around that I can use. It's a second to last lesson, and I feel like I should be catching waves, and I'm not catching them. I could cry right now. I'm so frustrated. Well, it's the last day of surf camp. I've been here nearly 5 days, and while I've improved, I don't feel like I am as good as a surfer as I wanted to be. So this was my last chance. This was my last day to give it my best shot and become the surfer that I wanted to be. I had pushed yesterday behind me and was determined. I was determined to get one of those green waves from the back on my own. And I was determined to be able to stand and surf and do what I came here to do. After a quick lesson on some fun tricks they encouraged us to try, which really felt like a bit of a stretch, I was thrown back into the water for the last time on this beautiful beach. And I kid you not, I felt like the stars in the universe and everything aligned for me, because when I got in the water, the conditions were literally perfect. There was no wind, big waves but not too big, and beautiful sunny skies. You know what they say, take 1 step forward and 2 steps back? Well, today, on this last day, I feel like I took 3 steps forward, at least. The first green wave I attempted, I caught on my own, and kept catching more and more after that. I finally felt like I understood where to be in relation to the wave, when to paddle out, when to stand. I finally felt like I was surfing. Like really surfing and just enjoying myself. It was the first time that I stopped worrying about trying to catch the waves and just tried to have fun with it. I attempted silly tricks, and even though I wasn't exactly successful and still don't look like a natural on the board, I finally felt like a surfer. There were dozens of people in the water, but when I was paddling out there, when I found a wave to catch, and when I'm standing up there riding that wave, everyone disappears and it's just me and the ocean, and it's magical. It was a magical last day, and I never wanted to leave. The best end of my whole experience. Like, that was just, I don't know, I just can't stop smiling. That was like the best last session ever. I feel like I know how to surf now, and it's just, oh, it feels fucking amazing. And today, it was just like so much fun. I'm just excited to continue. So, yeah, it just was a good day. A really, really good last day of surfing, and I'm happy. As I packed up my things and headed back towards town, I was more proud of myself than anything else. Am I a good surfer? No, definitely not. But did I learn how to surf in 5 days? Absolutely. While I'm still a newbie, I can't wait to get back home to California and be the Cali surfer girl I always wanted to be. I feel like I left surf camp feeling well equipped to go out into the ocean on my own and ride some waves in the real world. I'm excited.